The galaxy had watched countless empires rise and fall, yet none had caused as much unease as the movement. It was not a nation or a species, but a shifting alliance of conquerors who believed that all sentient life must bow to one will. Their fleets moved like a storm through star systems, crushing resistance and erasing cultures. When the movement reached the outer human colonies, most observers expected another swift defeat. Humans had arrived late to the galactic stage. Their ships were sturdy, but plain, their weapons functional rather than elegant. Other civilizations often dismissed them as too emotional and too divided to pose a real threat. Even the movement considered Earth a minor obstacle. That assumption would soon become its greatest mistake. The first invasion began at a quiet, mining world called Ridge. Movement warships descended and issued a demand for surrender. The human defenders refused without hesitation. They knew they were outnumbered, yet they also knew something their enemies did not. Humans had a habit of fighting hardest when cornered. The first battle was brutal and chaotic. Human pilots flew damaged fighters straight into enemy vessels rather than retreat. Engineers overloaded reactors to deny resources to the invaders. When the dust settled, the movement had won the system, but at a cost far higher than predicted. Instead of being discouraged, humanity became unified. Worlds that had once argued over trade and borders now spoke with one voice. Factories worked without rest. Scientists pushed beyond safe limits. Soldiers trained until exhaustion became routine. The movement saw these efforts as desperation. Humans saw them as preparation. The next wave of attacks met a different kind of resistance. Human ships were no longer merely defensive. They were fast, adaptable, and filled with crews who refused to accept defeat. The movement discovered that human tactics changed constantly. One day they used swarms of small craft to overwhelm shields. The next day they deployed long-range cannons to strike from beyond detection. Every loss taught humanity something new, while the movement relied on rigid doctrine. A commander of the movement named Ryle observed this pattern with growing concern. He had spent centuries conquering worlds and had never faced an enemy that learned so quickly. His reports warned of human unpredictability, but the Council dismissed them. They believed that numbers and superior technology would eventually prevail. On the human side, a strategist named Leon studied every battle. He noticed how the movement fleets always formed the same formations and used the same attack sequences. Humans began to exploit these habits. They planted false signals to lure enemy ships into traps. They used captured technology to mimic movement communications. Slowly, the balance began to shift. The turning point came in the Ardent system. The movement sent its largest armada, yet confident that sheer force would crush the upstart species. Humans responded with a plan that many considered reckless. They allowed the armada to advance deep into the system, where gravity wells and asteroid fields limited maneuvering. Then they struck. Human vessels emerged from hidden positions and unleashed concentrated fire. Mines detonated among the tightly packed enemy ships. Boarding teams breached hulls and sabotaged engines. The battle lasted days, and when it ended, the once mighty armada was shattered. Survivors fled, carrying tales of human ferocity. Across the galaxy, whispers began to spread. The movement was no longer unstoppable. Other oppressed species saw a chance to resist. They shared intelligence and resources with humanity. The war grew into a coalition of the unwilling united against a common foe. Raoul was ordered to lead one final offensive against Earth itself. He knew this was a mistake, but the Council demanded a decisive blow. The fleet arrived in the Sol system expecting panic. Instead, they found a wall of defenses and a network of ships ready for sacrifice. Humans had turned their home into a fortress. The battle was unlike any before. Earth-based cannons fired with relentless precision. Human ships darted between larger vessels, striking weak points. When a movement dreadnought breached the outer defenses, a group of human pilots rammed it until it broke apart. Their transmissions were filled with calm determination rather than fear. Raoul watched his forces crumble. He realized that the movement had never truly understood humanity. Humans did not fight for domination or ideology. They fought for survival, for their homes, and for each other. Those motivations made them unstoppable. In a final act of defiance, Ral attempted to destroy Earth with a massive energy weapon. Human engineers detected the buildup and launched a daring counterattack. A single ship piloted by a volunteer named Tom flew through enemy fire and disabled the weapon at the cost of his own life. The explosion that followed destroyed the core of the movement fleet. Silence fell over the Sol system. The remnants of the movement retreated. The war was over not because every enemy had been destroyed, but because their will to fight had been broken. Across the stars, humans sent a simple message to the galaxy. They asked, "Is this all you've got?" It was not a taunt, but a declaration that humanity would never again be an easy target. In the years that followed, Earth became a symbol of resistance. Former victims of the movement rebuilt their worlds with human aid. New alliances formed based on mutual respect rather than fear. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson. Underestimate humanity at your own peril. Leon looked out at the stars from a quiet observation deck. He thought of the countless lives lost and the fragile peace that followed. Humanity had survived not through superior power, but through resilience and unity. The movement had been defeated by a species that refused to accept extinction, and somewhere beyond the known systems, the story of human defiance spread. It reminded all who heard it that even in a vast and dangerous universe, a determined people could stand against the darkness and ask with unwavering confidence, "Is this all you've got?"